DJ Metal Craig of Craig's Metal Storm here, and I have Kurt of the Dirty Rotten Imbeciles with me today.
Hello.
I'd like to get you to go into DRI in 1981 when you guys were formed and some detail about the band name and what it means and the background of how you guys got started.
Well, most of that stuff's on the internet now. I mean, easy to find, but, you know, just basically four guys getting together and wanting to play some music, play some shows. And didn't really have, you know, high expectations as far as recording albums, going on tour, that sort of thing.
Was the crossover scene and being influenced by bands like Minor Threat, Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, and other such influences, how would you say your sound has evolved over the years in the crossover scene?
Our sound was definitely influenced by those early hardcore bands that were coming through town. And they were the more popular hardcore bands, you know, with their records easy to find in the store, that sort of thing. Dead Kennedys, you know, MDC, Adolescence, TSOL, as well as those that you mentioned. Yeah, and, you know, we grew up listening to hard rock, so I think it was just natural for us to mix those two genres together.
You mentioned the hard rock scene. Would you like to list off a few influences you had from that genre as well that influenced you as a band?
Yeah, I mean, you know, as kids, when we were growing up, there was no hardcore, so I think we looked for the more edgy, louder type of rock bands of the time, like Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, even Led Zeppelin, stuff like that, Ted Nugent, whatever was a little bit harder. Go quick. Too late, probably. So bands like that is what we were listening to. Kiss, you know, the harder rock bands that were coming through town.
With the career history spanning from 1983 to 2016, how would you say some of your albums and sound has evolved over the 35-year career of DRI?
Well, it started out, I think, mostly as just straight up hardcore. And then we started mixing in, you know, people started saying, oh, you're the fastest band in the world and everything. But it was just getting a little tiresome because we didn't have a lot of variety. You know, we could play every song that we had all in 40 minutes or something like that. And it was all right. But, you know, we realized that we needed to go somewhere else. We needed to start adding in some slower parts and stuff, which we started to do. You know, we heard bands like SOD, and they had the slow moshing parts, you know, and that was becoming popular on the East Coast, New York bands. So we added a little bit of that in with the fast stuff and to break it up, and it seemed to work out well for us.
What was the purpose behind the band adding more thrash-related elements and progressing into those elements from your start as a punk crossover hardcore band?
Say that again?
What was the purpose behind the band adding more thrash-related elements and progressing into those elements from your start as a punk hardcore crossover band?
Well, that was basically what I had just said the time before. We wanted to add it in to give more variety, some slower moshing parts mixed in with the real fast stuff.
What are the lyrical themes behind DRI's songs, and how did they evolve over the start of the band from 1981 to the lyrics you guys write nowadays in regards to the songs you have?
Well, we wrote about a lot of different things, you know, some political, some social, even some, you know, with the normal relationship, boy meets girl type stuff. And, you know, just anti-establishment, anti-social, anti-everything pretty much. Against commercialism and that kind of stuff. Just whatever we see, the bullshit, see things wrong in the world, and we talk about it.
With the career history spanning from classics such as Dirty Rotten album to other classics such as the Thrash Zone album and Full Speed Ahead to the initial release, how would you feel your album career has evolved as a band?
Well, we've gotten to where we try out a song, we can tell if people react to it. We want people to thrash to our songs. So, you know, if we play a song and nobody thrashes to it or whatever, we know that's probably not going to be a good one for us. The last record we just put out with, the 7-inch, But Wait, There's More, is, you know, it's only 3 new songs, but they're just straight up hardcore. They don't have the heavy metal lead guitar parts in there and all that. So it's kind of going back to the roots. And this was just something to feel it out and see if people really are interested in a new album, or if they just want to, if they're just talking and really they just want to hear the old stuff. So this was kind of an experiment for us, and it worked out pretty well so far. So I have to talk to the other guys in the band, but I would say that we will probably try to put out a full-length album, which will be hopefully along the same vein.
You have your own company. Would you like to go into some detail about that, the record label you guys do?
The record label?
Yeah.
It's not our label. It's just one that we're on right now. It's called Beer City Skateboards and Records. And they re-released several of our albums and 7 inches, and now they put out the new one as well.
You have a few books you put out as well. Would you like to go into some detail about those?
I started writing books when DRI, after the first few years we'd been out, and basically we made barely enough money just to pay for our gas, so we didn't really get money to live on, maybe $1 a day or something like that. And I was writing all the time, so I just figured, I might as well put some together in a little book, and then I'd have something to sell, and that way I'd be able to eat and everything on tour. So I invested some money and of my own and put out my own book. And the first one was just stapled together. I don't even think that first one didn't cost me anything because I didn't have any money. I had a friend that let me use his copy machine, and then another friend that had a big heavy duty electric stapler. So I just, made a book of some poems typed out and some photos that I had taken and some drawings that I did, and I just stapled them all together, and I sold that for $3 each or something on tour, and I only made 100 of them. It was called Word War One, but then it all started after that. I was never totally broke anymore after, never starving again once I had my own little book. So I just kept doing it, put out another book, and another one, and until pretty soon my whole house was full of boxes of books, and I realized I have to slow down. My coffee table was a bunch of boxes, and my end table was a bunch of boxes. It's like all my furniture was just boxes of books.
Do you have any other information about Dirty Rotten Press and any new books or anything you would like to disclose about this?
No, I haven't really been writing the books anymore. Like I said, it took me a while to finally get rid of all of them. And lately I've been buying my own books used, and then try to resell them like that just to make them available, And I won't say I'm never going to write another book again, but I just have no serious plan to do it right at this point. I tried to get, like a lot of writers do, I tried to send my manuscripts into other book labels or, publishers and all that, and they all denied me. I even tried to get them to put all my little books into one big book, and nobody wanted to do that either. So, fuck them. I don't really need them anyway.
Would you mind going into some detail about the song titles on Thrash Zone and the lyrical themes behind that album?
I don't have it sitting right here in front of me right now. I don't, just up the top of my head, I can't. Thrash Hard is our thrash song, about the whole pit culture and what it's like. The dangers and the brutality of being in the thrash pit and all that. A lot of bands have one, and that's ours. That's the main song. I don't know. You can mention some, and I'll let you know.
You guys have a strong anti-authoritarian view. Would you guys mind going into some detail about that?
Our anti-authoritarian?
Yeah, views.
The ways? Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were pretty young when we started, and you're just out of high school and, tired of your parents telling you what to do or anybody telling you what to do. I mean, I still feel the same way, just the government forced us to get health insurance recently. And even though you do have a choice, you could be fined or move away from the United States, I mean, getting health insurance is important, I guess, but I just don't like somebody telling me you have to do it or we're going to fine you into oblivion, and it's like, fuck, sucks. But at least we live in a country where we could leave if we want. So at least we do have a choice, but it's not a very good one.
You guys have 1 demo, 3 EPs, 3 singles, 6 full-length albums, one split, 6 compilations, one live album, and no classic titles for the EPs like Dirty Ron and But Wait, There's More, and classic album titles like Crossover to Full Speed Ahead for the full lengths, and just great titles in general. Would you mind going into detail about your EPs and the full lengths and history behind the lineup changes from past to present?
Yeah, I mean, we had to let some people go over the years, and sometimes they leave on their own because a lot of times, once they kind of see how things are going with DRI, they probably figure, I can do this. It's not that hard to do the same thing. So they have to, fly off and try their own deal. And nothing wrong with that. And other people just become too much of a pain in the ass to tour with. And, they have to be fairly serious to stay in DRI for an extended period of time, I would say. As far as the album titles go and stuff like that, it's, something we take seriously and discuss, and usually. And if somebody comes up with something good, and that's as good as it gets, and that's what we choose for the album title.
What made you guys work away from the hardcore punk scene towards the thrash metal, speed metal crossover you are today?
Well, like I said, we started mixing more metal parts in with the hardcore parts to break the set up, our live set, and make it more interesting for us and the crowd. We didn't really try to. Well, we did sign with Metal Blade Records, and so we started playing with more metal bands that were on that label. Bands like Slayer and Hyrax and stuff. And, it's not like they asked us to change. The bands didn't ask us. The record label never asked us or anything like that. And we didn't try to hey, let's start, being more of a thrash band than a hardcore band. It was more like we changed our music a little bit, and then we just found a fit, And actually we don't, we fit in all of those genres of music. There was a couple years ago we played, we headlined in 1 year period, we headlined a grindcore festival, we headlined a metal festival, and we headlined a hardcore festival. So we still somehow fit in with all of those, all of those genres of music. Grindcore people think we're grindcore. Hardcore people still think of us as a hardcore band, and whatever. We're accepted in all of those, which is pretty cool.
Would you mind going into some detail about those last 3 festivals you headlined over the last year or so, and how the details went on those?
Which festivals are you talking about?
The hardcore festival, the grindcore festival, and the other one.
Oh, that was several. That was some years back. Like the grindcore festival was a Obscene Extreme festival in Czechoslovakia, and they flew us in to headline that. The Metal Fest was probably something like the Maryland Death Fest or something, which was like, I guess, some kind of death metal festival. Not really, though. Yeah, we headlined that, and the hardcore festival was, I don't remember, probably several of those in Europe or something. But they're all good. We fit in somehow with all of those, and I'm happy about that. Because some bands are probably just locked into one, Like I couldn't imagine Slayer playing a hardcore festival. But we're lucky. We can kind of fit in with all those genres of music.
What was the reason for the relocation of the band to San Francisco, if you might go into some detail about that?
The reason we moved?
Yeah.
Well, we had an offer to play a show in San Francisco with some other Texas bands. So we said, all right, let's go. And then when we went there to play, our bass player quit. So then we were stuck there. We're like, well, we can go back to Texas and find another bass player. But we pretty much already knew all the bass players in that scene in Houston because we'd already been in that scene playing shows for about a year. And we talked about maybe getting one of those guys, and we're like, no. And then we said, oh, we'll probably have a much better chance to get somebody in San Francisco. Much bigger scene there, a lot more people involved, a lot more bands. So we decided to stick around in SF for a little while, and then we got an offer to go on a tour with that band MDC, and they picked us to go on this tour with them around the United States. So we got a bass player there. We picked him up just for that tour, and then we let him go after the tour was over. But yeah, that was our first U.S. tour, and we ended up back in San Francisco. So we got rid of that guy and had to find another guy, and we stayed in San Francisco, and we were basically homeless at the time, just living in our van and everything. And eventually, you know, some of the guys got girlfriends or jobs or whatever, and we just stayed in San Francisco. All of our tours started and ended there.
How many tours have you been on to date, and would you like to go into some of your favorite high points of some of these tours?
I have no idea how many. You could look it up, though. I'm sure on the DRI website it has, I think, all the tours or all the dates or something. Spike has done all that. I haven't looked at it lately, but as far as how many tours we've done, but you know, each year is a world tour, but each year consists of smaller tours like U.S. tours, Canadian tours, South American tours, European tours. You know, or next tour is Australia. So I consider each year a world tour with a bunch of smaller tours combined to make that world tour.
Would you like to go into some?
And high points, you know, like the first time we ever had a tour bus, stuff like that. When you're used to living in a broken down van and all of a sudden you get a tour bus, that's pretty nice. First time we had a bunch of roadies, you know, come with us, sound man, light man, all that kind of stuff. That was fun. Low points are like, you know, back in the old days, mostly in broken down vans, just trying to make it to the show and nursing your overheating van and that sort of thing. It's a pain in the ass.
Do you want to go into some of the band's setbacks and how it strengthened your career?
Each time you lose a member, it's a big setback sometimes, but it's like you don't want change, but at the same time, you know you have to do it. But then you got to break in a new guy, get used to that guy, see if his personality, you know, works out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, each time you have to change a member, it slows you down, you know.
Do you have any upcoming shows?
Yes, we have the Australian tour, which starts next month. And then we come back, we go to Puerto Rico. We come back, and then we start touring in the United States. And then we have two tours of Canada. And what else? I think then we go to Europe during the summertime for like a whole month, I think. So that'll be good. We didn't go last year.
The band moved again after moving to San Francisco for almost 20 years. Do you want to go into some detail about the band's relocation from Texas to San Francisco and where you've relocated to now?
Well, I told you about how we went there to California, but yeah, I moved back. Spike's still there. Harold's our bass player. He's from the Bay Area, California. He lives there still. And our drummer lives in Florida. So, yeah, I moved back to Texas just because it's cheaper. I like it better here. And California is very beautiful, very nice, but it's just too expensive for me to survive.
As the frontman of DRI, which genre do you prefer to be classified more as? Thrash metal, speed metal, or hardcore crossover? And would you like to go into some detail about that?
Hardcore crossover, speed thrash metal. No, I don't care, man. People can call us whatever they want. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. You know, it doesn't bother me if they call us thrash metal, thrashcore, hardcore thrash. It's just DRI. They can try to figure out how to call it. You know, it doesn't really matter to me.
Could you highlight some of the best songs in your career and go into detail about these?
Best songs?
Yes.
Of DRI?
Yeah.
there's some that we don't even play because we have so many, songs that we want to play that people want to hear, and we can't really play all of them. See, Syringes in the Sandbox is one I like playing live. Another one called Probation. Spike wrote the lyrics to that one about being on probation, with the cops. I don't know. We change our setup every year, change the songs a little bit, but there are certain ones that we kind of have to play, that people are expecting to play. Nursing Home Blues, we haven't played that for a while. I was getting kind of tired of it, but now I miss it a little bit. Thrash Hard's always good. That really gets people thrashing. And, of course, all three of the new songs are fun to play because we haven't played them as much, and, just to see the people's reaction, which ones get them going and all that.
Do you guys have any side projects, and would you like to talk about those?
Any what?
Side projects. As in bands,
I don't understand.
As in other bands you were in stuff. Side projects outside of DRI.
Oh, side projects.
Yeah.
I've only had one in my entire life, and that is Pasadena Napalm Division. And we came out with an album. We have two records, actually. One's an EP, which was like a demo EP on CD, and then we came out with a full-length album as well. And we just mainly toured around in Texas, Louisiana area, because the other guys in the band, they're musicians, but they're not like touring musicians and all that. They have regular jobs. So they can't really go on tour. We just play on the weekends sometimes, and we haven't even played that much lately. I know Spike was in some bands before he started with us in DRI, but he hasn't played with them. The bass player has another band called Blind Illusion. It's an old band, started around the same time or maybe even earlier than DRI, but they got back together with him, and they've been playing a lot of shows. The drummer he's only in DRI right now, but he's been in more bands than any of us, I think. A lot of hardcore bands. He was even in Machine Head for a while and a lot of bands. Attitude Adjustment, I think, was the last one he was in.
I've got two more things I need you to do before I let you go, and thank you very much for your time. And the first one is, do you have a request for the fans of Metal Devastation Radio, a song you want to hear on air besides your own band?
About Ghost.
Sure, I'll get that in the mix. And then the second thing I need you to do is make a tag for the radio station, saying this is Kurt of DRI, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
Metal Ghost Station?
No, Metal Devastation Radio.
Oh, Metal Devastation Radio. Yeah. Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. Hey, this is Kurt Brecht, vocalist of the Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, and you are listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time, man.
All right. Take care, man. Thanks.